Hey guys, it's Mystic Frost here, and today we are back with Callum and his first placed Super Heavy Samurai deck profile. So Callum, whenever you're ready, show us your spice.
So Super Heavy Samurai has really hurt after the balance. There's no way around that, and trying to play this deck has been really rough. So this is still a work in progress, but this is the best it's felt in the weeks that I've played it post-ban list. And I've kind of worked off YouTube lists to try and come up with a build that I felt comfortable with that fit my playstyle. And people will probably change some of the ratios to their own liking, and that's kind of where this deck is at the minute. It's really untested ground, so expect new text to be coming out in the future for this, and maybe it might wildly change. But for the actual Super Heavy Samurai monsters, I'm on 3 Bike, 3 Wakaushi, 3 Wagon, 2 Benkei, 1 Coral, 1 Stealthy, and 1 Scales. So Bike can pitch himself to add a Super Heavy. He's kind of the best starter of the deck and the best searcher. Wakaushi is just a custom card as far as I'm concerned. In the scale, place another Super Heavy Pendulum in the scale and then spec him. And when he's on board, if he's synchroed off, you can put him in the Pendulum scale. And once per turn, you can pitch a card from your hand to spec a Super Heavy from deck, and you're locked into Super Heavies the turn you do that. But every single effect this card had came up today, and it was really, really good when it did. Wakaushi on his own now is a 1-card OTK into an empty board, which doesn't sound amazing because it's an empty board, but it just lets you pressure damage turn 3 really fast, because you can just Pendulum 1 and then just get damage. Wagon, he's your other starter, and he's probably your second best starter in the deck now. When he switched on summon, he switches to defense, and once per turn he can switch to attack and add a Super Heavy Samurai Soul. Big Benkei, he's got an on summon effect which we've been messing around with, but we haven't quite found a home for yet. He can pitch a regular Big Benkei from deck to summon himself from anywhere. He can pitch a Big Benkei from anywhere, hand or deck, to spec himself. So he's just a free level 8 that we can special summon if we want to, but we're not doing that with this build. We're just using him for his Pendulum effect, which says if we control a Super Heavy Samurai monster, we can add a Super Heavy Samurai Soul from deck to grave. So we've got 2 Soul Searchers. Coral, he's our other searcher, and he does come up, scale, sorry. He does come up with a scale effect to let us deal more damage, but he's mainly here for his defense. You'll see later on. He's just a searchable scale that we need now that we've lost Scarecrow. So because we've lost that extension, we need other ways to recuperate the deck. Stealthy is an amazing extender. He can spec himself if you've got no spell traps in grave, and he can tribute himself at quick play speed to steal an opponent's spell trap in grave and set it. So this hasn't come up today, but I've been using it recently to just steal people's imperms and set them on my side and get free negation. Against Branded, I used it to steal Branded Fusion when the chain after they activated Retribution to add it to hand. So there's some really cool interactions with it. Scales, when this guy is normal or special summoned, he can target a Super Heavy Engrave and revive it. He's a really good extender tool, but I don't really want to open him because then I have to Pendulum him and lines get a bit wonky.
Makes sense.
So that's the Super Heavy Samurai side of things. And then going with the Super Heavy Samurais, you have the Super Heavy Samurai Souls, who are kind of the equipment that the Super Heavy Samurais use. So we have 3 Soul Piercer, 3 Soul Peacemaker, 2 Soul Gaia Booster, and 1 Soul Horns. So Soul Piercer, most will probably know as being the best starter from the old build, because when he's sent from field to grave, he can add a Super Heavy Samurai monster, and that's not once per turn. So he's absolutely crazy, and even though he's not a starter anymore, the fact that he searches the entire archetype, he lets us brute force plays in a way that we kind of need to now. So like even just being able to equip this to a dude before you synchro summon, it's really useful. Like it just lets you brute force things by chain blocking searches. I did try it too, but I just kind of wanted to hard open it because this deck, even though it's got 1-card combos, it succeeds when you're doing multiple card combos now. Soul Piercer, similar vein. Some people are playing it 3 already because of Droll, but this card you can equip it to a Super Heavy, tribute that monster and summon one from deck.
Yeah.
So often you're bringing out scales to then revive this guy again,
Yeah.
just to loop more searches. But you also kind of like this, you want 3 just to brute force your plays now.
Yeah.
Because the whole name of the game is to extend. And the best way to do that is just to see the guys in the opener. So we have 2 Soul Guy Booster, just an amazing extender. He can equip himself to a Super Heavy to turn it into a tuner, and he can just unequip himself to summon himself. He's really important just because he's a free level 4. The tuner effect didn't come up today, but it can sometimes if you're strapped for tuners in a grind game. And then Soul Horns, this was the OTK maker. So you can equip this to a Super Heavy and it can swing twice. It can also special summon itself as an extender, which did come up once. You'll probably see it in the replay. It was a really weird line, but it had to be done so I could play. Just a great way to push for damage. And it's an extender in a pinch. The other one some people play is the Claw, which has 500 attack and defense, so it's a searchable extender. Some people do like playing that, but I couldn't get my hands on one today, and it wasn't really missed, but it's always worth trying out if you want to. So that's the Super Heavy Samurais, that's the Super Heavy Samurai Souls. To round out the rest of the machines that we're playing, we have 2 Metal Cruncher, 1 Gearbox, 1 Tunneler, and 1 Regulus. So some people have been playing 2 Regulus, and I do like 2 Regulus. Mine was just a space issue. I could have put a second one in and run 41 cards, but this deck, because I've not got any spell traps, I just felt I had to run 40, and I couldn't be inflexible on that. Tunneler just gives us a grind game because he can shuffle 5 Earth Machines from my grave back to draw 2. The Infinitrack special. Here it just shuffles back all our Super Heavy so we can keep summoning them from deck and just streaming them to hand. Gearbox sucks to open, but the fact that he searches Coral or Infinitrack Tunneler gives us options. So Gearbox can get us a scale or it can get us a search. Metal Cruncher is our other starter. So this guy, if you control no face-up cards, can normal summon himself. He's level 9, which is unfortunate because you can't pendulum him. But if you normal him and he reveals 3 Earth Machines, and your opponent randomly adds one to their hand. But if you reveal 3 Super Heavy Samurai Bike,
you get the bike.
It don't matter. And then we have, to round it off, non-engine. So I'm on 3 Ash, 3 Veiler, 3 Ghost Mourner, and 3 Nibiru. I have seen some people play Kaiju, but my issue is at the minute, because of the way the new combo lines are working, we don't really get to search off of Clifford Genius very often. Because we don't often get to make Clifford Genius before a Pendulum Summon anymore. So I didn't want to run like a one-off board breaker when I could just run 4 good hand traps to try and diversify my options. I would like to fit more in, but the engine requirements now are so much larger than they were before that I had to make room. And
so,
we made it with the hand traps.
We may get a comment. What would you replace Regulus with if you can't afford a Regulus?
Regulus, it does unfortunately gatekeep the deck. In that it's really difficult to play without it. If you wanted to play without it, I would probably look at stuff like Borrowload Savage Dragon, or even more budget, Draco Berserker of the Tenyi.
So you've got the negates that way.
Because then you would literally be ending on like Apollosa plus a level 8 synchro. So I'd look at like maybe Draco Berserker, or Borrowload Savage if you're really strapped for cash. Otherwise, the other way is just to play the deck going second. You've got enough cards that push through, and all the Super Heavy Samurai Synchros, which we'll cover soon, just go second, and that's all they're designed to do. So if push comes to shove, build it pure, because Wakaushi just gets full value anyway. And Wakaushi being the OTK, you just run a bunch of bullshit to force him through. So that would be the other way to take this approach if you haven't got the money.
Sounds good.
For the extra deck, we have Stardust Dragon, Excel Synchro Stardust Dragon, Saratobi, Borreload Savage Dragon, Baron de Fleur, and Super Heavy Samurai Steam Train King. So Stardust is here because of Excel.
Yeah.
It works with certain lines, like if you get Nibiri'd on the summon of this.
Yeah.
Because this revives a level 2 tuner, and most people at that point will try the Nibiru to stop Baron coming out.
Yeah.
So you contribute it, revive this, and then immediately sync it off with the tuner into Baron, so you get cool lines like that.
Yeah.
Saratobi came up so much today in ways I didn't expect. Often I was just making him to put Wakaushi back in the scale and then tribute him for Soul Peacemaker, because he's a super heavy samurai. But he is also an MST on legs, and that did come up quite a bit today with like sniping back row and continuous cards. Like my punk matchup, being able to snipe their continuous spell was really nice, and just being able to snipe set trap cards in a grind game was really good. He put in way more work than I expected. Steam Train came up in an incredible amount in a way I didn't expect. This with Wakaushi and Horns just lets you OTK. And being able to threaten this so quickly was immense. And also, once per turn, he can just banish all the spell traps from your opponent's grave. So in things like the branded matchup, that can be really nasty. Just ripping fusion spells out. Borrel, solid negate. I didn't really play him today, because every time I wanted a level 8, I made Saratobi. But card's crazy, I wouldn't take it out. It's a bit harder to set up, because you do need a link, but he tends to come out in the grind game when you're desperate for those levels, negates, because Synchro has kind of become the best mechanic the deck has access to. And Baron is self-explanatory, it's the card's crazy.
He's worth his price tag.
Yeah. The deck is unfortunately gate kept by a few powerful negates. But they really elevate the deck. Baguska, Gear Gigant, Springen's Merrymaker, Gigantic Champion Sagas, and Zeus. So Baguska, every time he got summoned he won. Card's just such a powerful floodgate. It let me out cards like Psychic End Punisher, which this deck just struggles against. And this was a Psychic End Punisher going to 9,000 attack in battle phase. So making this with the Super Heavy Samurai Synchro, because it only negates activated effects, this could still swing whilst in defense. So it was such a gnarly combo that just let me push through so many unforgiving boards. Gear Gigant X is essentially if you only open Wagon as your starter, because you overlay him with a Gaia booster and search your bike, which then gets Wakaushi. So he didn't really come up today, because luckily I wasn't ever forced to just rely on a single card to start my combos, but he's essential. This search is Regulus now more than ever, because we haven't got Clifford Genius really to do that. This came up so much. Also, this being a easy format Zeus won me a couple games, because like swinging into a nib token that was in defense, then making a Zeus, detaching, clearing the board and being able to threaten it again was so powerful. And Zeus is probably the best Exceed in the game. There's no way around it. The card's insane.
The reason why he's called the King of Gods.
He let us go second. He gave us threats in the grind game. He did everything he needed to. So for our links, we've got Clifford Genius, Ancient Gear Ballista, also the Earth Charmer Removable, and Apolloza the Goddess. So Clifford Genius, you can still make it in some lines, but I never went for them because they always felt too greedy. I was mainly using him for spot negation, and the fact that he's immune to spell traps and link monster effects means you can use him to just force through things. Ballista I was making as like a backup of main play everything. This card's insane in this deck now, because it lets you link off the Soul Piercers and search your Gearbox, which gets you your pen scales or your draws. This card's insane. Also, its attack effect does come up because you can pop the equips to reduce attack. I didn't do that today because most of the dudes that were bigger than me were also untargetable. But it's really cool to have. Also surprised me. This was the last addition to the deck, and it came up more than I thought it would. Being able to steal like my opponent's punk monsters or even like Math Mech Alan Bershon was just really useful, and Apo solved a lot.
Apo's Apo. And you went 4-0 today.
Yes, I
Yeah.
played against game one, which was Nouvelle.
Yeah.
That's a very interesting deck, but we were just playing fast and loose that game. I just summoned everything in defense. They couldn't tribute over it. Then I went against zombies, and Zombie World Balladrop caused a lot of headaches because I was locked out of machine lines. But I just, game one I lost completely. I got locked out of the game. But game 2 and 3 I managed to get control and just win. Round 3 I was against Mahmek.
Yep.
Really close match. A lot of it came down to just who had more starters, really.
Yep.
Because we both had similar game plans of lots of hand traps, lots of starters. And that one was a real scary one because both decks can just threaten game out of nowhere.
Yeah.
You know, like if I let a single Cyberse resolve, he just link climbs to access code and I'm dead. He lets Wakaushi resolve and he's hit with a train. Like, it was a really nasty matchup.
As you will see in the replays.
And then my final one was Gold Pride Punk. Now that's a really scary deck. Luckily, it was my best friend playing it. You know, we play tested it a bit, so I was a bit more aware of what to hit. And Nibiru just hard carried that match. There's no way around that one. It came down to Nibiru him. He had no cards. I had no cards. I had a scale. I had to open a samurai. I hit a samurai. Like, it was a close match, and that one could have gone anyway.
All right. Well, thank you very much for the profile, and we will see you next week, I'm sure, with another topping profile.
Anytime. Take care.
Yeah, okay.